Have you ever looked around at the work being done in the world and thought, I want to do something that actually matters? I want to do something that makes a real difference? Well, my guest today, Tara Chklovski, founder of Technovation, didn't wait for permission to build a career with impact at its core. She went and made it happen. In our conversation, we talk about what it takes to step off the default path and design work that aligns with who you really are and the mindset shifts that make that possible. Grab a notebook and pen. There's so many gems in this episode. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Career Changemaker podcast. Do you want clear direction about your next chapter, but find yourself overthinking every move and worrying about getting it wrong? If so, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Janine Esbrand, corporate lawyer turned career coach, keynote speaker, and mother of two. And I've discovered how to gain real career clarity and build an impactful career on my terms without sacrificing security or burning out. If you're ready for aligned career options, confident decisions, and work that protects your peace, close that comparison tab on LinkedIn, grab your notebook, and let's dive in. Before we get into this awesome conversation with Tara, I just wanted to take a moment to invite you to come and join us inside of our brand new community for mid-career women who are designing what's next. Come and join us in the Career Navigator Network so that you can surround yourself with like-minded people who are navigating questions around what's next for their career and how they can show up in a way that is aligned to who they are in this season of life. Head over to careerchangemakers.com/community and you can follow the instructions to come and join us inside of the awesome network. Look forward to seeing you there. Hi, Tara. Thank you so much for being here. I am super, super excited to interview you today. Before we dig in, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a bit about you.
Thank you for having me. I am Tara Chklovski, and I'm the founder and CEO of Technovation. We are a global tech education nonprofit, and we've been running for almost 19 years now. And our bigger sort of goal in our mission is to bring the most powerful cutting edge technologies to the communities that are underrepresented in tech and innovation, and women are one of those groups. So Technovation is a 3-month accelerator experience program where girls find problems in their communities and they develop either mobile apps that was 10 years ago, now they're AI solutions, and actually launch startups. And we do this across 120 countries in the world.
Amazing. I love that. So how did you get into this? Like that sounds incredible, and having that amount of reach and helping girls to break into tech essentially and be so innovative is amazing. What led you here?
I think a long journey. I think partly my background growing up. I'm from India, and my father was a pilot in the Indian Air Force and was very encouraging of me to be sort of getting my hands dirty with actually fixing engines. He had a car repair shop. My grandfather had an engine building factory, actually, or a workshop. And so I grew up around massive, they're not even like, massive machines that would actually build engines and things like that. And so I had a very unusual growing up compared to, because India is one country where the social norms against women are very, very strong. And so I had an unusual bringing up. And I think part of that was like, the future is really yours to shape, and it's a function of how hard you are willing to work and how big your ambition is. I think a big part of sort of people who do big things is because you have someone who has high expectations of you, and I think the person always rises to those high expectations. And so I think my upbringing really had a lot of that, and so I was doing aerospace engineering, and I came to the US to do my master's and then my PhD, and it was just such a shock to kind of see that in the world's most advanced country that drives most of the innovative products in technology and engineering and medicine in the world, women were not part of that. And so it just feels wrong that in the 21st century that social norms are so strong that they determine your career trajectory. And I think that just felt wrong. And so that's why I started this nonprofit. It was called Iridescent before, now we call it Technovation. But I think it was really to kind of explore this idea of self-efficacy and this idea of what is my passion is really just a function of past experiences and mentorship and high expectations. And so we've been on this very long journey of experimenting with different models and seeing what works, what doesn't work. And this accelerator model is the one that really, we are the only program in the world that has long-term data showing that this model helps girls change their sense of identity as an entrepreneur, as an
Yeah.
innovator.
Oh my goodness, this is so amazing. I'd love to hear more about like the differences that you experienced from a cultural perspective. So you mentioned that you were kind of surprised that women weren't as involved in certain areas in the tech space. What did you observe as the main difference in terms of how women or girls are educated or treated? What would you say would be the difference for in India versus the US?
I think there's actually no difference between the way girls are treated anywhere. I think 150 countries legally discriminate against women. And so too often communities that are wealthier kind of think of this as being a low-income country problem, but the wealthiest countries have this problem. I think women are very different from men, right? Like there's no denying that. And I think historically there has been a very strong separation in roles. And I think the world has evolved where that strong separation doesn't make sense anymore. And so, especially when you have women working in the workforce, that it doesn't make sense to have these very strong sort of lines of gendered roles. And so I think that when women are coming into these workspaces, and then when you ask them, if you look at just the numbers, like most women work in the service industry, most women will work because that's what's socially accepted in every culture. And I think that's what needs to be questioned. Where is that coming from? Too often parents will say, but that's what my daughter likes. And I think if you were to dig deeper, it's not what she likes, it's what she wants to fit in. It's a human need for us to fit in. And so it's not a gender-based thing, but it's your self-preservation, right? So you'll do what your friends expect you to do or what culture expects you to do. And so that's what I think we need to kind of question a little bit. And there's an economic argument. The tech jobs I think the World Economic Forum put out a Future of Jobs report, and it shows 15 jobs that are going to increase dramatically. And out of those 15 jobs, 13 of them are in the tech sector. 12 of them are in the tech sector, 2 of them are environmental engineering, and only 1 is non-tech, which is truck driving. So these are the jobs that are going to be the fastest growing. And then there's a massive number of jobs that are going to decline because of AI and automation. And mostly all of them are in the service industry. So guess who's going to get hit? Women.
Yeah.
So, and women are not part of the fastest growing jobs. So if you think a country wants to progress economically, the most obvious thing for you to do is to tap into the group that is not part of the fastest growing jobs, which is women and in tech careers. So, but that's not what social norms encourage. And I think that's what our organization is really about. Like, question these things that you take for granted, and they're not part of your inbuilt genetic
Yeah,
makeup.
absolutely. And I think it is about challenging the norms, and there are going to have to be people that are trailblazers and that are pushing the boundaries in order for things to shift and to change. As you have built this accelerator now, but you said there were a number of iterations of this program before. What were some of the initial challenges that you faced in terms of getting buy-in and getting people on board with how this approach could really help to challenge the narrative and, make things different for the participants that have been going through the program?
I think we are facing one of our biggest challenges right now with sort of the environment, which is very much against sort of minorities and different groups. I think there's a lot of headwinds that we are facing. And I think we have survived and we have thrived because of incredibly supportive allies, right? Like male allies, but as well as, of course, incredible women leaders who see that they want to be door openers for the next generation. I think the biggest challenge really has been kind of not making this kind of a zero-sum game between the genders, right? Where if we are encouraging more girls to take jobs, I don't think the viewpoint is that these jobs are being taken away from deserving male candidates, right? So that mindset of this being a zero-sum game is one that's a difficult one to overcome and to adjust the narrative. So I'm struggling to as our scale increases, we have a very, very strong strategic plan to reach 25 million girls over the next 10 to 15 years. And for that kind of scale, I think we do have to figure out how can you have a conversation that is on a very sensitive topic, right? Where you are challenging the
Yeah.
status quo, and it's uncomfortable to a lot of people because the majority dominant group will not want to let go of what they have because that is comfortable for them. And so there was some research done in the 70s that talks about sort of majority minority groups, and when the majority group kind of sees a threat, they kind of talk about, oh, this current state is merit based. And I think it's so interesting that that's what we are
Yeah.
seeing now in the environment. And I was like, this was research that was done almost 50 years ago, and it's kind of we're following it by the book. But I think seeing like uniting on a common goal is really important. And I think economic progress for all, I think that's the way to, I guess, see the other person's viewpoint and have some kind of coherence. Otherwise, I think a zero-sum game mentality is not a good one. The anti-DEI movement is one that we are battling
Yeah.
right now. And so I think it's feeling very fresh and raw. And so it's a challenge that it's probably one of the biggest challenges that we are trying to navigate right now.
Yeah, it's crazy how things go in cycles, and things that you would think, okay, we've dealt with that, we've moved past that, it comes back around. It felt like we were making progress, and now it's almost like, yeah, we went all the way forward to come all the way back, which is highly unfortunate. It's going to be the case that you have to navigate the challenges. We've got a bit of a blueprint, and then you also have to innovate, and then things are changing, and we're in a different world in terms of AI and how quickly technology is moving. So yeah, there may be more appetite because I'd love for you to share a little bit more around what are some of the things that you do or the approaches that you take to support girls with the confidence piece, because I know from the women that I coach and that I work with that confidence is one of those areas that we're always having to go back to because people lack confidence or their confidence is knocked. And I think as women, we can hold on to situations and circumstances that have impacted us in the past, and it can prevent us from being able to show up. And as a mother of two, a boy and a girl, I see the difference in my son and my daughter in the way that they approach things. And if they can't do it, my daughter gets very frustrated and very upset, and she'll be like, forget it. Whereas my son, like, he'll let it just roll off his shoulders if he can't do it. And I know she's not the only one as a girl who takes that approach. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your experience, given that you've worked with so many young people through your program.
And I think and men, testosterone plays a huge role in sort of giving you that amped up sense of confidence. But I also see plenty of men and boys who struggle with self-doubt, right? So I tend to I try to take away gender as much as possible from conversations because the stereotypes are already so strong that I don't want to further paint. I think the stereotypes don't even sort of serve men that well, right? Like that you have to be this aggressive, confident, like without a thinking kind of person, right? Which is also not fair and not true. And so what I've seen is that the confidence, you're trying to do new and harder things because as a human, you're constantly looking for stimulation and achievement and a way to sort of grow. Otherwise, you get bored. And if you're doing new things, you're always dealing with, will I be able to do this? And so the best way, and the military does this really well, right? Like, how do you train people to make decisions under stress and lay down your life, even like in life and death situations? And the way they do that is through simulations. There is a viewpoint of self-efficacy, and self-efficacy is how do you sort of view your ability to do something, and it's usually a function of your past, the expectations of people that they may have about you, the support systems you have. And so it's not a static entity. For instance, you may be highly confident when it comes to some sort of sport, but you will not have that same confidence in if it is about like maybe cooking or something else, right? Like so you have to work hard to build your sense of self-efficacy in a particular field. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, my favorite examples is that like what the military does is through simulations and case studies. where you practice doing hard things by doing hard things, but in a fail-safe environment, in a safe space with the right support mentors. And so
Yeah.
entrepreneurship is the ability to innovate is one of the hardest things to do, right? Because um, I think like maybe less than 10% of the world really truly innovates and they
Yeah.
build businesses that they want to, right? Like there are lots of small businesses, but that's quite different from being an entrepreneur and being an innovator, right? And by definition, that means you're doing
Mhm.
something that hasn't been done before. And so you do not have a guarantee that you're going to be successful. So the only way to do that is to practice that. And that's what Technovation
Right.
is, right? Like the 3-month accelerator is find a problem in your community, and that right away you learn the skill of problem framing and structuring, then break it down into bits that you can tackle. So think about a minimum viable prototype. Think about what is the one feature you want to build, then test it out with users, collect feedback, and then try to see who are your competitors, try to see how you can come up with a marketing plan, and then think about how will you make this sustainable. So like from zero to having a business plan, um, I think that's what is really a big part of building that sense of confidence that I can solve problems and I can be an innovator. And so that's where the data shows that this is such a powerful experience because you're not alone. You're doing it with your teammates. You're doing it with a mentor. You have a curriculum that you're stepping through.
Yeah.
And so, of course, like after girls go through it, they never forget this experience because they built a company from scratch. And after that, they can just take on bigger and bigger challenges, but they've already done something so big that their potential is much larger. Their ambition. We start off from with girls like ages 8 onwards. So many times they come back multiple times,
Yeah.
compete in Technovation. But usually, I think we don't want them to start businesses too early, right? Like they have to have life experience, they have to go to college, they have to. What we see, and we encourage them to get scholarships, to keep sort of leveling up at every stage. And we try to connect them with different opportunities. But what we see is that they typically get into the university of their top choice. And from then on, like just like they have so much support from their communities because these communities want hope, right? Like these young women are so inspiring because they're coming up with such interesting, innovative solutions. They have
Yeah.
so much courage.
They show up differently in themselves and then in their communities, and then there's a ripple effect for like the rest of their careers.
The ripple effect is a powerful one, and it comes back to each of us, like you were saying. I think that's my favorite thing to do is to talk to them and to kind of hear their journeys. The thing that I have to keep reminding myself is that even when they come and talk to us, we feel so proud of them. And sometimes when you read their story, it feels like a complete story in itself that, oh my gosh, she got a scholarship to go to Oxford. She's now doing her PhD and she has been awarded this award. And so that can be a very neat standalone paragraph in any book, right? But you got to kind of remind yourself that her story is unfolding and she's facing so many challenges at every step of the way because they are breaking all sorts of barriers, so many obstacles that they
Yeah.
continue to face. And so I think many times just sort of watching their narrative, it's so inspiring that you kind of forget that these are real women fighting.
Because it's
Yeah.
hard, right? It's hard to be the first in your family. It's hard to be the first in your community. It's hard to trailblaze. And then you look to your left and you look to your right and it's like, okay, I'm lonely. Like there's no one else who's doing what I'm doing. That doesn't mean I shouldn't be doing it, but it does mean that it's hard to find people that can relate to me. And I think that's a really hard place to be when you're a high achiever. Yeah. How have you navigated AI and like shift? So for you as an organization,
That's right. Absolutely right.
how has it influenced your like approach, your model? I mean, AI is hot topic right now, but for many people, they've been thinking and talking about AI for years. It's only now that it's mainstream. Everyone's talking about it. So what has been your relationship with AI and how have you kind of incorporated it?
Yeah, so we started looking at AI as a tool to bring into sort of the teaching curriculum 10 years ago. So we started releasing our first sort of curriculum around AI in 2016 and launched our global AI challenge 2018. And so we're coming to this conversation with a lot of data, a lot of sort of years under our belt. And I think the big sort of scary thing to me is that women are the single largest group that is most in danger of being left behind in this AI revolution, because women are the least likely to use AI tools. They are the least likely to learn about AI, and they're the least likely to build AI. And so, as I was saying, like the fastest declining jobs are those that women are disproportionately part of. And I see this in the education sector, like so often, like high ranking leaders in ministries of education tend to be women. And if you ask them, have you played with these tools? They'll say, no, but this man who reports to me has been giving me briefs. And so I think this kind of, again, the social norms of not getting your hands dirty yourself because you may be afraid of just the discomfort, right? Like new things are uncomfortable and technology can be uncomfortable. So I think that that's the biggest danger women face. And so my whole organization is dedicated to empowering young women to become builders of better AI. We need them to be not just using AI, but to be building AI. But I also always tell anybody I meet, I was like, get the women in your life to actually code. Because now use whatever and build a little, I love this term vibe coding. If you've heard of this term, it's kind of cool. Like I think Andrew Ng talks about vibe coding, where basically whatever you're feeling like, you can actually code something to suit your mood. And it's exactly as easy as that. Like I think I built a writing tracker app in 3 minutes just by using English. And I think that's what, it's not enough to just use AI for editing your English, right? Like actually get your hands dirty and build some tools for yourself. I talked to so many women, I've not met one woman who said, I've used it to code. And that's just so frightening to me. That's not okay.
Yeah. And it's true what you're saying about the future of work. I think we can't just bury our heads in the sand. Things are not the same as they were, and they're continually going to be changing. And so those who are able to adapt and survive in the new world, next level technology, are those who adapt, right? If you're just carrying on how you have done things, you're going to be left behind. So we definitely need to think about that and act on that.
Absolutely. I think in the US, there's a lot of upheaval, especially in the education world. But I think there's bigger upheaval coming, which is going to be driven by AI. And it's not that far away. And so I think that I would say it's happening. And maybe some of the political unrest has also got like AI as a huge sort of um, um, uh, driving force underneath of this.
Yeah. So
There's
what are
nothing to
you
wait
most
for.
excited about or looking forward to, or projects that are coming down the pipeline for you? I'd love to hear about that.
The big one is we are the largest female tech talent network in the world. And so I think every year we add 20, 30,000 more young women. And we are connected to this sort of program that is bringing in these incredible new talent. And so we're kind of reimagining ourselves as an organization that's providing long-term support to these incredibly talented technology entrepreneurs and leaders. And in our strategic plan, we have a vision to have possibly, the largest network of female entrepreneurs, but also investors. And coming years,
I wouldn't even call it organization, I'd call it movement. So as someone who is running such a big organization, no doubt it's busy. So what are some of the things that you do to kind of unwind, de-stress, manage all of the demands that come with leading out this type of organization?
I see myself as a builder. And so the thing that I'm constantly practicing is building new things, because when you learn and build new things, you're constantly getting comfortable with the feeling of discomfort, right? And there's a very predictable cycle where you don't know anything about something, it feels overwhelming, it feels new. Then you start to layer information, you start to layer skills, you see progress, which is very exciting, it's stimulating, you get a lot of dopamine. And then you actually create something and you build something beautiful that didn't exist before, and you have a tremendous sense of accomplishment. And so that cycle is very powerful. And when you talked about confidence, right? Confidence needs to be built on a very regular basis, right? Because the world is changing and you are changing. And so that question of can I do it? Because you're asking yourself to do harder and harder things, that's always a constant question. And so you have to build You have to fuel yourself enough to be able to fuel you for the big thing that you're working on, right? And so your little things in life really need to add up. So the thing that I believe in is that your hobbies should really support your big main goal in life, because if there are things that really don't add up, then you have so little time that if it's not helping you in your big goal, then don't do it, because your time is so precious. So I really am very intentional about my free time and how and if I choose to spend it in a particular way, there are multiple things associated with it. So I rock climb with my daughters, and so I spend time with my daughters, and I'm watching them do hard things, and they watch me sort of struggle, and so there's multiple sort of benefits to that kind of time management. And then I think I constantly learning, and I build model rockets, and it's a highly technical thing, and I'm always learning more and building more advanced rockets, and it's such a scary experience because you don't know what's going, and then you keep building better and better, and then it works, and it's an incredible sense of accomplishment. But I want to do harder technical things so that I'm not afraid of things like AI.
If people want to learn more about you, your journey, and the amazing organization that you run, where's the best place for them to go?
Technovation.org.
It's been awesome. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me, Janine.
Hey, ambitious woman, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to follow the show and share it with someone who may be quietly rethinking their next chapter? Also, please leave a review. It really helps this message reach more ambitious women ready for career clarity, and it lights me up to know that this podcast is helpful to you. Until next time, go and take one strategic step forward, and I'll meet you back here in a few days for another episode. Let's keep building.